We need something. We need something.
Looney? Oops.
Looney, thank you.
Looney?
No two songs scream animation like Merrily We Roll Along and The Merry-Go-Round Broke Down. I love Looney Tunes, mainly everything after the 1940s. Don't care too much for those super early black and white ones. Mostly the cartoons from the mid-40s to the 70s are the best comedies in animation ever made, is the reason I'm a big fan of Warner Bros. Animation as a whole. But you want to know what I'm not the biggest fan of?
Warner Brothers presents Jordan, Bugs Bunny.
Special delivery!
Together, they just might save the world. Space Jam. You've never seen anything like it.
Space Jam is a movie I'm very attached to, and yet it's a movie I don't love, and I can't really say the film itself is a guilty pleasure. It's hard to explain my relationship with this movie. My attachment to a film comes from being a big part of my childhood. Whenever someone mentions the words Space Jam, Toon Squads, or Monstars, I start to feel a little bit of a nostalgia high. It's like Vietnam flashbacks, but with everything commercially from the 90s instead of the traumatic imagery of war. Now, I never saw the movie in theaters, mainly because it was released around my first birthday, but I did watch this movie a lot as a kid. Mainly because the VHS tape of this film was everywhere. Most people I knew with a VHS player had one. That and the Rugrats movie, that one also showed up a lot as a kid. I loved Space Jam as a kid, but when I rewatched the film as an older, more critical adult, I came to the realization that this is a bad movie. And that's not because of the film's plot. Looney Tunes don't need a big story that makes sense. My criticisms comes from the film's pacing, the uninteresting scenes with the real-world characters, the sloppy and inconsistent animation of the Looney Tunes, the out-of-character behavior of some of the Looney Tunes, the lack of screen time with the Looney Tunes, Lola Bunny. The voices of some of the characters are off.
Planet, I've got you now.
The film itself isn't all that funny, and Michael Jordan really isn't a good actor.
What's going on here?
Yeah, the film was just overall flawed, and it was better as a minute-and-a-half Super Bowl commercial. Even Chuck Jones, the legendary animator from some of the best Looney Tunes cartoons, hated this movie more than anybody. He even mentions that Bugs wouldn't even go seek Michael Jordan for help. He would instead outsmart and conquer the Monstars in 7.5 minutes, which is a good point. Characteristically, that's what the real Bugs would do. Even Joe Dante, who directed Gremlins, thought Space Jam was a poor representation of the Looney Tunes brand. So when he signed up to direct the next Looney Tunes movie, he wanted to make sure the film would be what he'd call the anti-Space Jam.
Brendan Fraser, Jenna Elfman, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck,
Welcome to my world.
and Steve Martin as the evil head of the Acme Corporation
I know I'm hot.
in the biggest animated adventure ever to hit real life. Looney Tunes back in action.
It's all yuck yucks and then bam wham blam.
And that anti-Space Jam became Looney Tunes Back in Action, which in my opinion is better than Space Jam in every way, and then some. Instead of being centered on a celebrity, it's mainly centered around the Toons, and instead of the Looney Tunes living in their own separate world from the real people, their world is the real world, kind of like some of the old cartoons.
So I can lose my job. Well, I'm not a nice guy. And I'm not gonna let you in. And I'm not gonna lose my job. But I am gonna throw you out.
Or for better comparison, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is one of my favorite movies ever. Not only because it's a great noir film, but it has so much fan service to classic cartoons. And I feel Back in Action is the same way. There's a lot of fan service to Looney Tunes, and even some of the other properties from WB, like Daffy running through the set of Batman, monster movies from the 50s and 60s. They even joke about the Scooby-Doo movie that came out the year before.
Sorry if the other way. I was trying to be real to your character.
If you like Goof on Me in the sequel, I'm coming after you.
Yeah, and I'll give you a Scooby smack.
In fact, this whole cafeteria scene is just gold. You have the most controversial Looney Tunes song about being PC.
At first they told me to lose the stutter. Now they tell me I'm not funny. It's a pain in the butt being politically correct.
You're telling me.
They even have a joke about the addition of Lola Bunny.
Answer, we team you up with a hot female co-star.
Usually, I play the female love interest.
Another cool thing I want to bring up is in one of the deleted scenes, Bugs accidentally gets turned into one of his early appearances from Harem Scarum. The film itself is a road trip adventure movie about Bugs and Daffy traveling with Brendan Fraser and Jenna Elfman to look for a diamond that turns people into monkeys before the head of Acme gets it first. What I like about this premise is that it gives Bugs and Daffy an opportunity to go against their most famous antagonists from the past cartoons, like Yosemite Sam, Elmer Fudd, Tasmanian Devil, and Marvin and Martian, which are all great moments of the film. All time spent with the human characters alone are very brief, and most of their screen time is often shared with the Toons. The best human character is Steve Martin, who plays the chairman of the Acme Company. And yeah, the head of Acme makes sense to be the antagonist of a Looney Tunes movie.
You've been smashed by boulders. You've been run over by diesel trucks. And don't blame the equipment. The equipment is good. It's Acme equipment.
That, and I find every scene with the Acme Corporation funny. They also show that the humans in this world can be as cartoony as the Toons themselves. And most importantly, the animation of all the Looney Tunes are really good. This is thanks to the help of Eric Goldberg, who did the character animations for Genie from Aladdin. Back in Action isn't one of the best comedies ever, but it's definitely a fun time the whole way through. If this movie came out around the right time, it would have been more remembered, but sadly it came out at the worst. Reruns of the classic shorts weren't airing as often as they used to, so many kids around the 2000s era just didn't grow up watching Looney Tunes. That, and the film was set to release around July 2003, but Finding Nemo was eating up the box office, so they had to move the release date to November 14th, where it came out after the release of big movies like Brother Bear and Elf, a week before The Cat in the Hat, and 2 weeks before Disney's Haunted Mansion. All movies I just mentioned are box office successes, except for Cat in the Hat. That one just only made its budget back. On top of that, the movie didn't even have that much marketing because too much of the budget was already spent on the film, which was $80 million. And the movie only made back $68.5 million. So yeah, this movie was set to die.
Oh, pain. Oh, agony.
You're fired.
The director of the film, Joe Dante, really doesn't like to bring this film up, since during production, WB wouldn't give him creative freedom and kept interfering with his vision of the film. He only agreed to do the film as a tribute to Chuck Jones, who was a good friend of Joe's, and died during the film's production. He did say, at least it's better than Space Jam after the film's release. With all that said, it's easy to see why Warner Brothers doesn't like to acknowledge this movie at all. That and Space Jam was the most successful the Looney Tunes have ever been after the 70s. If you haven't seen this movie, I recommend it, especially if you like Looney Tunes. And if you have seen this movie, but it's been years, I also recommend watching it again. It's a movie that didn't leave much of an impact on me as a kid, but I grew to respect it a lot more when I rewatched it as an adult. And I do look forward to Space Jam 2. I just hope it follows up on what Back in Action did right. I also look forward to more of those new shorts on HBO Max. I really recommend these. These are a great watch. So yeah, that was my opinions on Looney Tunes Back in Action, and yeah, better than I remember it. How this video came to be is I was just one day skimming through HBO Max, and I just decided to watch Space Jam, and directly after it, I was like, you know, I might as well watch Back in Action 2, and Space Jam was like, it was just about the same as I remember it, not that great, but you know, had its moments. Back in Action, a lot better, and I just like felt like I just want to write about it after I saw the movie. It's a much better movie than I remember, so that's why this review exists. If you're wondering why those borders are around the YouTube video, it's because it's just it case copyright. Their little copyright system tries to attack me. I don't know if that will help, probably won't, but that's the idea I got for right now, and if they take it down, I'll just re-upload it with some kind of fix or something. But I barely have any views, so it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's kind of a short one, kind of not much to say. I said everything I wanted to say in the video. But until next time, thank you for watching, and logging out, everybody.